Whether it's being patient enough to stop plants from going down, or being kind enough to give all of your utility to your teammates, I've collected 7 heavenly virtues as siege operators. The first of which being patience. The virtue of patience is the ability to wait for something without getting overly angry or giving up at what you're doing. The operator I've chosen to represent this heavenly virtue is Echo. Now, in terms of waiting for something to happen, Echo players are the cream of the crop, and you have to be a very patient person in order to play Echo correctly. Unfortunately for you, if you're an Echo player, a lot of your gameplay is just being on a camera. With the ability to have faster cameras due to the drone rework coming out in this next season, that's something that's increasingly more fun for you to do. But regardless of that, Echo is a 3 armor, and he has an ACOG, meaning that his playstyle is naturally just more suited to holding long angles and kind of just sitting in places. You're not going to be the type of person to swing everything and take a bunch of gunfights when you have a 3 armor operator with an ACOG and you have drones as an ability. As Echo, you have to be patient when stunning people to go for kills, or even stunning people so that your teammates can get kills. It's very teammate oriented. You also have to be patient when you're trying to stun people out of planting. You have to wait for the exact time to stun them, and then wait for the exact time to stun him again, and then you have to wait for your other Echo camera to drive up to him while he tries to plant after your 2 Echo cameras have stunned, and then you shoot up your other Echo camera and you stun him 2 more times, but you have to wait for them to be able to even plant in the first place. It's a lot of waiting, and that is why I think Echo is the perfect operator to represent the heavenly virtue of patience. This is an operator that if you play, you will become more patient at. And every single heavenly virtue I have in this list, if you play these operators, you'll become more like what you need to become like to become their heavenly virtue. More proof of this can be found in the next heavenly virtue of temperance. Temperance is defined as self-control and exercising restraint and discipline to what you're doing. The operator that I've found that perfectly represents this heavenly virtue is Smoke. Now, the increasing meta of rushing with shields, Ying, a fast-paced meta, especially after the 1.5 meta and the LMG meta, playing Smoke has become increasingly difficult. Because when Smoke was released, you had to time his canisters to the end of the round. Each smoke canister lasting 10 seconds and you having 3 of them means that you had to time it for the last 30 seconds of the round to be able to play Smoke to his fullest effectiveness. But now that the rounds last even shorter and shorter as seasons are released on and on, it's become increasingly difficult for Smoke to play like this. Now, you're honestly rewarded for playing Smoke early, or maybe having the self-control and the temperance to do smoke canisters and the exact correct timing every single time you throw your smoke canisters. You see, it's not exactly where you throw your smoke canisters that makes you a good Smoke player, it's when. It's how long you're able to hold off an area before you have to use your smoke canisters to hold it off even longer, and how willing you are to hold an angle and to hold a position before giving it up and using your smokes instead. It's all about how much can you control the area and exercise restraint and not backing out of a room that you're sitting in without throwing your smoke canisters down. And exercising restraint, self-control, discipline, and the ability to hold down what you're doing no matter how difficult it is the perfect example of what temperance is in an operator. Especially with operators like Goyo on the board, who you can just put your utility down and then you don't have to worry about it, or operators like Tachanka, where you have so much utility you don't have to worry about the timing. Smoke has become increasingly popular in terms of people who are much more level-tempered, which is why Smoke is the perfect operator to represent the heavenly virtue of temperance. Another operator who perfectly represents their heavenly virtue is the operator that represents diligence. Diligence is doing hard work no matter how hard it is. It's being able to lay down on the line and just get things done even when everything is going against you. The operator that I've found to perfectly fit this description is Monty. Now, you might be thinking that Monty is a no-brain operator that people can just run and get a lot of value of even if they don't have skill. But in higher lobbies, that actually couldn't be further from the truth. You see, in higher lobbies, countering shields is pretty easy. Not only do they know how to do the shield melee dance where you melee them first and you win, or they melee you first and they win, but also they know how to bring operators like Clash and it be good because they're good Clash players. Also, Legion is extremely common. You have Capcan a lot in especially console lobbies. Impact grenades and nitro cells are common at every single corner you turn. So Monty at a higher level is actually pretty hard to play once people start to learn how to counter it. It takes a lot of diligence in order to play Monty correctly, because a good Monty player honestly never really unextends his shield. All he'll do is walk in and give info for his team for them to swing on, and if the enemy ends up shooting your teammates, all you have to do is unextend, which makes them look at you, which makes your teammates kill them. So it is a win-win scenario for you and your teammate who is pushing with Monty. That is the proper way to play Monty. If you want to play Monty in a more entry-esque sort of playstyle, you can run in the building and have your entry fragger, whether it be an Ashe, a Yana, a Buck, whatever it may be. They can go behind you and refrag. You can go in, melee people as fast-paced as you want, but you never really want to unextend until you're right next to the person to melee them. A good Monty player knows this and will only do the hard work no matter how hard it is, whether there's barbed wire, Legion, Tachanka, Clash, or any sort of traps on the board, because a good Monty player doesn't really get countered by any of that. It's pretty easy to just shoot a Legion Mine, or shoot a Capcan trap, or deal with a Clash if you just don't push where the Clash is, or you have teammates that are playing off of you that can deal with the Clash. That's why in the highest level of play, whether it be champion level ELO or professional Rainbow Six Siege players, Monty is played almost every single time that Monty can be played, because once you learn how to play Monty correctly, he is almost uncounterable. So not only in playstyle do Monty players have to do the hard work no matter how hard it is, but Monty players have to do the hard work by just learning how to play the operator correctly, no matter how hard it is, and once they do, it pays off extremely well. Another virtue that pays off extremely well is the virtue of kindness. Kindness can be defined as being friendly even at the point of self-sacrifice. The operator that I've chosen to represent the virtue of kindness is Doc. Now, Doc players in general are not very kind, but I will say the ones that are the kindest people you will ever meet. Not because of some overflowing personality trait, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of the times if you have a Doc player that actually heals you, it can be the difference between you dying or you living. A Doc that actually gives his stims to his teammates can feel like the best thing ever. Whenever I ask a Doc for a heal and he actually heals me, I feel like I'm a homeless person in a Mr. Beast video. Like, I feel like I just got gifted 10 grand. I'm overwhelmed with happiness because it's so rare that it happens, but when it does, you feel like they're Jesus reincarnated. Like, they're just so kind. And that feeling alone makes me want to put Doc in the virtue of kindness. And I do play Doc from time to time. I like the ACOG, I like the gun, I like the bailiff for sight setup, I like having barbed wire under windows for damage. But also, I'm not afraid to heal my teammates. I'm not really roaming with Doc. So I'm pretty kind with my Doc stims whenever I need to be, and it's one of the very few operators that you can really be kind to your teammates to be able to fit this virtue in the first place. Another virtue that is very strong in terms of kindness is the virtue of charity. Charity is seen as aiding others to make the world a better place in general, often without any pay in return. And the operator that's similar to Doc that I've found for the virtue of charity is Rook. At least with Doc, when you play Doc, you're getting something in return. Again, you have the ACOG and a low recoil SMG with a bailiff and barbed wire if you want to be able to counter shields or a BP. It's pretty self-rewarding to play that operator, as you can also heal yourself. With Rook, that's not really the case though. With Rook, sure, you do have the good gun and an ACOG, but the ability doesn't really give you much. Impacts are cool to have, but you're not really going to be roaming as Rook unless you just want to do it because of the gun. When you play Rook in terms of utility, you're just doing it for your team, which is the most charitable thing that you really can do. The ability that Rook has is the most charitable thing that I can possibly think of in Rainbow Six Siege. All you do is give your teammates armor that they can wear. That's the entire ability. You don't even have to give it to yourself, although I don't know why you wouldn't. Playing Rook is often seen as one of the best operators that you can play as a new player, not because Rook's ability is broken and good for you to learn, but purely just because of the fact that if you die, you at least had the charity to give your teammates utility in the process. Which is why in terms of Siege operators, I really don't think that there's another Siege operator that perfectly exemplifies charity as much as Rook. Now, in terms of charity and kindness, the two virtues that I've gone over in the past, you might have been thinking of the next operator that could fit those roles that I'm about to talk about for the virtue of humility. Humility is staying humble no matter your position in life and no matter your status. The operator that I think perfectly represents humility in a nutshell is Thermite. Not because Thermite is a humble operator in practice of their utility, but here's the thing. Everybody can get frags on Ashe, everybody can get frags on Buck, everybody can get frags in general, and everybody wants to. It's the most fun playstyle to have. It takes a real man to look at your team and go, you know what, I'm gonna let them play Ashe. There's a fucking wall that needs to get open, so I'm gonna play some Thermite. It takes humility to know that you have the gun skill to play that Ashe, but you're gonna sit down and let your teammates do it and be humble and play the wall denial instead. And honestly, for me, I kind of like doing that because Thermite's gun is super fun to play anyway, so I don't really see a problem with it, but most people, that's not really the case. So it really takes a humble person to be able to put their ego aside and not ego frag and actually get some walls opened and some utility on the board, which is why I think out of literally every operator on this list, Thermite perfectly represents the virtue of humility. Now, instead of Thermite, you might have been thinking of this next operator, who I actually think better represents the virtue of chastity. Chastity is defined as loyalty to somebody else, whether it be in a sexual manner or not. The operator I think that represents the virtue of chastity the best is Thatcher. Now, as much as you can say that Thatcher is good for humility, charity, and kindness, the other three virtues that I've gone over, I couldn't help but put this operator in chastity instead. When you think of walls getting opened, what is the one other thing that you think that you need in order to get that wall open? EMPs. And what is one operator that brings EMPs that are not only better than regular EMPs, but brings more than just 2 EMPs? Thatcher. When you think of the perfect operator to help you get walls open, somebody that's loyal to those wall operators, you think of a Thatcher player. I love duo queuing with teammates that play support because I like playing people that open walls. Their guns are good, I feel good opening walls for my team, and I feel good getting the bomb down. It's just the type of playstyle that I like. And having somebody as a duo queue teammate that is loyal enough to go Thatcher or EMPs every single round is the best feeling in the world, and I don't feel a sense of chastity from any other duo queue operator at all, which is why I think Thatcher perfectly represents the heavenly virtue of chastity. But with that out of the way, my name's Alka, check out this next video, and I hope we'll see you there.